It's time to find out
What Shane
said with Shane Manila.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Happy to see you again. We are about 8 days from the NFL draft, and I, for one, cannot wait. I keep playing over scenarios in my head for players that I already rostered from Devy leagues that I had, or for the rookie picks that I own. I know that we're all wishing for certain things out of this NFL draft. Specifically, or generally, I should say, we probably want every player that we roster to get some help. Or we want every player that we currently roster from Devy leagues to get a good landing spot. Or we just want a ton of offensive skill players to go into the first 2 days of the draft, so that these picks themselves are more valuable. So that if you don't even believe in this class, or this class doesn't fit your needs, it's not, you don't need running backs, you don't need tight ends. It doesn't fit your needs. At least if these picks are more valuable, the more players going in the first 2 rounds would help that, making those picks more valuable. Obviously, the more you can do with them on the open market and trade them for players as opposed to using them in the draft. So, with that said, I do have some specific things that I'm looking for personally that I want to happen that would make me happy, over the moon. First off, Drake Maye. Drake Maye, can we please get Drake Maye some help? Last year, 12 games, Drake Maye played. He had a very, very, very poor selection of players to target. In fact, it was so bad that I'm going to break it down and tell you who his leading target share earners were. Leading the list, Hunter Henry with a 19% target share. Pop Douglas, 17% target share. Kayshon Boutte, 15% target share. And Austin Hooper, a 12% target share. That's about 63% of his targets going to Hunter Henry, Pop Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, Austin Hooper. Jalen Polk got about 5% of the targets. That is very bad. That's a very bad list. You would not like 63% of your targets going to those players. Hunter Henry, I don't know, like 15%, right? Right. That's the type of tight end you'd like to see him be, 15%, not 19%. Pop Douglas, I don't know. He should probably be a wide receiver 4 on most teams. Kayshon Boutte, same, Austin Hooper, I don't think that he should see more than, 5% of targets, but this is where we were last year, right? So we need him to get wide receiver help, as many as we can. Specifically, we would hope for day 1 wide receivers or top 50 wide receivers. And you might ask why. Well, my friend Scott Connor from Mannequin Chill, Destination Devy, from a bunch of other things. You know Scott very well if you're watching this channel. And if you are watching this channel, please hit like and subscribe. Anyway, he put out a tweet the other day. Between 2024 and 2023, there were 154 wide receivers drafted between the picks of 51 and the end of the 5th round. Of those 154 wide receivers, only 24 of them averaged 10 points per game in their first 2 seasons. That's bad. That's 16%, by the way. 15.6, I'm rounding up to 16%. 16% went on to score 10 points per game within their first 2 seasons. Very bad. So the hit rate for wide receivers outside of the top 50 is not great, which also, as an aside, should probably make you think, like, should we really be drafting those wide receivers that are drafted in the 3rd round? Or maybe we should be doing something else with those picks. Anyway, if a wide receiver is drafted in the top 50, better chance of success, better that this class looks, better opportunities for this class. These picks gain more value. But if it's not a top 50, though I really hope it is, just get him some wide receivers. And if it's not top 50, just make sure it's not a slot. Because right now, it appears Steph Diggs is slowly morphing into a full-time slot receiver. And I know he could only be there for a year, but I'm just talking about next year. And who knows? If he plays well, maybe they bring him back. But anyway, Steph Diggs had a 45% slot rate last year. That was 15% higher than his previous high. For four straight seasons, he's seen a slot rate increase. So let's not get another slot receiver, unless it's Jalen Milroe. I like Jalen Milroe. Maybe we could flip-flop those two. One could play out of slot one time, the other time. I don't know. Stretch, confuse the defense. I don't know. A lot of mix and match with those two, but probably not. Probably better served with an outside receiver. Again, you would hope it's a day one. You would hope it's someone like Tet McMillan, but if it's Tet McMillan, they probably have to trade back. Not probably, they should, because they shouldn't be taking him at 4. Maybe Travis Hunter at 4. If Travis Hunter goes there at 4, I'm going to tell myself a story that he's basically the wide receiver 1 of the class, because I'm going to say he's going to play more wide receiver. Matthew Golden, 4 is definitely too high for him. Trey Harris is not a day 1 wide receiver, but Trey Harris could be a wide receiver that goes in the top 50, maybe. Point being, we need a top 50 outside wide receiver there. That's really, really, really what we want. That would help. Well, that would help Drake Maye, getting him receiver help. And 2, the wide receiver being a top 50 player, top 50 wide receiver, or top 50 player overall, would mean that wide receiver has a better chance of success. And we like success in fantasy football. All right. Second person I want to talk about, or I should say the second thing that's on my wish list, homer pick. I would love the Eagles to draft Elijah Arroryo at, 32nd overall. I'm not sure if they have their second, 64th overall. I've seen him mocked going as early as the first round and the end of the round to the Eagles. I've seen him mocked in the second round. Now, I've seen a couple in the third. We'll find out in a couple weeks, right? Well, less than that, actually. I just said that, 8 days. The assumption in Philadelphia is that Dallas Goedert is on his way out of here. Dallas Goedert is owed $15 million. But if the Eagles go ahead and move on from him after June 1st, they will save $4 million. And in case you haven't known, or you don't know, I should say, the Eagles are in kind of a perilous cap situation where they're trying to save a lot of money because they got a lot of players to play. So long story short, and they're already talking about Goddard in almost the past tense terms when they talk about him, pretty good chance he's going to go. So why not just any tight end, right? Why not Harold Fannin? Why not Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland? Well, Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren are going to be well off the board before the Eagles ever get to even think about drafting a tight end. So why not a Fannin, Mason Taylor, etc.? Because a couple of reasons. Arroryo is a super explosive player, and we'll get to that. And why does that matter? Because since A.J. Brown has joined the Eagles, since he's been with the Eagles have concentrated their target shares mostly to the wide receivers. In fact, last year they ranked 19th in tight end target share with a 20% share. In 2023, they ranked 26th in tight end target share, 18.3. And in 2022, they ranked 23rd in tight end target share. So since A.J. Brown's been there, the position as far as targets that is favored is the wide receivers, obviously Devonta Smith there. And that makes sense. If you have Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, you probably should just pepper that position with targets, specifically those two. Now, even though the overall position hasn't gotten great targets, Goddard has seen decent target shares. Not elite, but good. Top 12, right? He was top 12 in target shares in 2023 and top 10 in 2024. So he gets enough targets. He's not explosive, though, right? He's not a big play guy. Elijah Arroryo, that's a big play guy. Last year, Elijah Arroryo averaged 16.9 yards per reception. For his career, it's 16.4. Just for comparison's sake, Tyler Warren, 11.9 yards per reception last year. Colston Loveland, 10.4. And probably a more direct competitor as far as being drafted to the Eagles, Harold Fannin, 13.3 yards per reception. Elijah Arroryo bested them, all of them, quite easily by about 3.6 yards. Harold Fannin, who is probably his closest competitor, and who is his closest competitor in yards per reception. Arroryo is just a big play waiting to happen. 34% of his receptions last year were explosive. They were over 20 yards or more. Comparison, again, Harold Fannin, 22%. That's less than 34% by a good bit. Tyler Warren, again, just to comparison purposes, 16%. Colston Loveland, I couldn't find. Sorry. I couldn't find Colston Loveland, man. I looked everywhere I absolutely could, and I just could not. But anyway, it's probably, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Colston Loveland did not best Elijah Arroryo in explosive plays, just based off the fact that his yards per reception was so low, 10.4. And he had a couple games where he had 3 or 4 receptions in lower yardage, which would indicate that he didn't have many 20-yard receptions. So Anyway, Elijah Arroryo is the perfect complement, or at least the perfect piece to go there, right? They have a lower target share, not terrible. Overall, positionally, it's bad, but specific to Dallas Goedert, who Arroryo would be the one-for-one replacement, it's pretty good. And he could be more productive than Dallas Goedert because he's just a more explosive player. Okay, day one running back. My favorite running back spot. This will be my running back one, most likely. Or two. Well, wherever Ashton Genty goes, that's my running back one. After that, probably O'Marion Hampton. But let's just say that, I don't know, Trevion Henderson, probably day two, but say Trevion Henderson ended up with the Raiders. That would pretty good chance, or not pretty good chance. There's a chance that dude might be my running back too, to be quite honest with you. And we'll get into why. And first off, I know some people think Dallas is the best landing spot. I don't. Dallas has Javonte Williams, who is very bad at football. I get that. Not very good as a running back, but he is a good target getter. In 2023, he had 52 targets. In 2024, he had 70 targets. For his career, he averages 3.8 targets per game. And last year, it was 4.11. So it's been increasing. I would like my running back, or a running back, an elite, supreme running back, to go somewhere where there's not a Javonte Williams to get a bunch of receptions. I would like them to go to a actually somewhat worse depth chart than Dallas, because Dallas has Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, and I know Miles Sanders is not a superstar. Miles Sanders did go to the Pro Bowl a couple of years ago, so I'm just saying. And I say, in comparison, the running back room in Dallas makes the running back room in LA, or it's not LA, Jesus, Las Vegas. There you go. Look, just absolutely, it's terrible. It's Raheem Mostert, Sincere McCormick, Zamir White, Dylan Labier, and Chris Collier. I don't know who that is. I have no idea who that is. So that running back room is just waiting to be Thanos. We saw Zamir White. Unfortunately, he's just not it. Sincere McCormick looked nice, except he kept getting injured. And Raheem Mostert is very, very old. Another thing I like about the Raiders is their head coach, Pete Carroll. And again, this isn't to say that, Dallas won't run, but I know Pete Carroll will. Just going through some stats, he's always been a run-heavy offensive play caller, at least a scheme on his team. Excuse me, he doesn't call the plays, obviously. But anyway, his team's lean, I should say, run-heavy. In 2019, they were last in the league with a 35% pass-neutral game rate. That is horrible. Another thing that he loves to do is feed his running backs. Chris Carson, you remember Chris Carson, 2019, he actually had 22 opportunities per game. During the Marshawn Lynch seasons, a bunch of them, but specifically 2011, 12, 13, 14, he averaged at least 21 opportunities per game each of those seasons, and it was actually 22 opportunities per game the final 3 seasons of that stretch, 2012, 13, and 14. Pete Carroll loves to feature a running back. A running back goes there in the early part of the draft, I am going to feel really good. I got to be honest with you, if one even goes there a little later, I might feel really good, like 3rd or 4th round. DJ Giddens. I don't know. Just doesn't matter. Just a name. Just throw one of them out there. I might like that running back a little better. But honestly, for me, I hope Ashton Genty lands there. That's really where I want him to land. He's the running back one regardless, but that's still where I want him to land. I think the runway would be wide open. All right, finally, Jalen Milroe getting drafted in the 1st round. That's on my wish list. Yes, it is. Not because I like Jalen Milroe, but if Jalen Milroe goes in the 1st, that probably means we have 4 quarterbacks going in the 1st round of the NFL draft. Cam Ward, obviously, probably Shedeur Sanders. Sounds like Jackson Dart's going to. And then Milroe. 4 quarterbacks in the 1st round of the NFL draft is beautiful for your picks in super flex drafts. We can say till the cows come home that we do not like Jalen Milroe, and we will not draft him in the 1st round no matter what. But we are the same people that drafted Kenny Pickett at 109 in 2022. Kenny Pickett, okay? Looking at DLF mock draft rookie ADP from 2022. Kenny Pickett, 109. That's absurd. We did that. So don't tell me that we won't draft Jalen Milroe in the 1st. And even last year, and this ended up being a good quarterback. But before the NFL draft, Bo Nix was going off the board as the 16th player overall. After the draft, he was the 12th. Jalen Milroe goes in the first round. He's getting drafted in first rounds in your drafts, my drafts, all of our drafts. Not every one of them, but he will. He will. Think about Michael Penix, Bo Nix last year when they got that first round draft capital. They moved up. It will happen. Right now, Milroe's 208 in mock drafts. So he's got a little room to move. Like I said, Bo Nix was 16th overall last year. Milroe would be 20th overall. So he's got a little more room to move than Bo Nix did, but he can get there. And why do I think Milroe is going to be drafted in the first round? It's simple. He got invited to the green room. You get invited to the green room, you're probably getting drafted in the first round. Last year, 13 players were invited to the green room, and every one of them drafted in the first round. In 2023, it was 14 of 17 players that were invited to the green room drafted in the first round. In 2022, 21 players invited, 17 players drafted in the first round. Altogether, there were 51 players invited to the green room in the last 3 years. 44 of them went in first round, 86%. Milroe's going in the first. Live with it, deal with it. It's okay. Look, you don't like Milroe, that's fine. You know why that's fine? Because someone else will draft him in your first round, pushing a player that you do like down the board to you. So it's a good thing. The more skilled players we get drafted, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, more of those players that get drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, the better for our fantasy picks, our rookie picks. They gain in value, and it pushes other players down that we might like. You might not like Quinshon Judkins, right? Let's say several running backs get picked, he gets picked, I don't know, to the Raiders. Just some craziness happens. He gets picked earlier than you thought he would. You don't like him, but he's going to get pushed up. You don't draft him. That's fine. You weren't going to draft him in wherever you were, sitting anyway. Let him get pushed down. That's all Milroe is, right? He's a player that will push other players down the draft to you. So that's it. I got just 4. It was just baby wishes, not all the wishes. We'd be here all night and all week till the draft came. So first, Drake Maye, I need you to get a wide receiver. I would hope it's an outside receiver. I hope it would be a top 50 wide receiver. If not, just get this man a lot of wide receivers, period. Elijah Arroryo, I'd love to see him midnight green, Kelly green, the midnight green. Nope. Yeah, midnight green. Yeah, that's what it is. Third, I would like to see a day one running back go to the Raiders, if possible, please. And Jalen Milroe, I would love to see you get drafted in the first. I am pulling for you, young man. So that's all I got. Appreciate it. Everybody take care.